Hello, everyone. Today, here we are discussing the very changes that have come in the subject of audit and assurance. We all are aware of the news which have been discussed from quite a while now that the institute, that is ICAI, was going to come up with a new syllabus and completely new scheme of education and training. And as you all are aware, that on the 75th ICAI Celebration Day, that is on 1st of July 2023, embarking 75 years, glorious years of our institute, finally, the institute has now launched the new syllabus and the entire new scheme of education and training. Trust me, this is in the benefit of the students. And when we went across, or when I saw the entire change, or I've seen every change in the syllabus, the streamlining of the course, the training, articleship, everything, this is really going to be in the benefit of the students. So this major change that has come up with this 75 years of completion and the launch of the new course, trust me, it is something very nice, very interesting, and for the benefit of the students. Today, we are here going to discuss the differences, or maybe I can say a comparison, which I'll be helping you through to understand between the old syllabus and the new syllabus of audit, that is intermediate audit. There has been no much change in the content. There has not been a lot of changes with regard to content because audit, very basic concepts are going to remain the same. The standards on auditing are going to remain the same. So basically, they have done some kind of structural changes, and there has been some content modification, shifting of these topics from one chapter to another. They have concised it, very smaller syllabus is there compared to the earlier one, but they have introduced something very interesting, and that is about professional ethics. Earlier, you got introduced to this particular chapter only and only in the final. So you got introduced as well as you understood in detail about professional ethics, code of ethics, everything, only when you were in CA final. But now, understanding the importance of it, it has now been included as a part of the intermediate syllabus also. First of all, the very important change is that the name of the subject itself goes under a change. Earlier, we called it to be auditing and assurance. Now we call it to be auditing and ethics. So the very name of the subject has now changed. And with this, you'll be able to understand that, yes, there is something additional part added to the syllabus, and that is going to be very important. Also, one very important thing before we get started with the discussion of the syllabus. Now, because they have already told about the practical case studies that we are going to have a more focus on all of those areas. When you look at the institute's new study material, you will see there are so many new questions framed. There are practical oriented, that is practical application based case studies. So the basic, the formatting, or maybe the way in which the institute study material has now been made up, and now giving you all the examples and the elaborate discussions. This is something really very much in the interest of the students. All right. So with this, let us get started with the understanding of the differences that was there in the old syllabus as well as the new syllabus. All right. So if you look at this, okay, this is the study material from the new scheme. And you can look at it, the paper 5 is talking about auditing and ethics. So basically the earlier subject that we were studying, yes, the earlier subject, which was called as auditing and assurance, is now being changed to auditing and ethics. And if you can look at it, the paper number 6 has now become the paper number 5. So there has been a change in the complete structure. So the name itself changes and becomes auditing and ethics. And the paper is now paper 5 because there has been a change in the number of papers in the intermediate, because of which obviously this change is going to happen. All right. Now, let us go into the detail of understanding. We'll compare these two. What I have done is I've already studied in detail both of it, that is old syllabus and new, and I made a very easy understanding for you. I prepared a file so that this will help you understand the differences between the old and new syllabus. Okay. All right. Now, if you look at it, okay, this is the comparison of the old and new syllabus of audit, which is for the intermediate. Okay, as I told you, the very name of the subject is changing, and now we do not have the name audit and assurance anymore. We now call it to be auditing and ethics. And this was earlier the paper number 6. Now this is going to be the paper number 5. Okay, now when we spoke about the earlier syllabus, we had 3 modules altogether, and altogether there were 13 chapters. Okay, so if you look at the institute study material, okay, which I'll help you through understand now, you'll see that altogether 3 modules were there, wherein a part of the subject was in the first module, second module, and all the standards as the pronouncements were discussed as the third module. But now it has been completely concised, and you have only 2 modules, and the entire syllabus has been undergone only 11 chapters. That means only 11 chapters are going to talk about the entire syllabus together. Okay, so just for you to understand, okay, this is a new scheme if you look at it. Okay, if you look at the old scheme, that is the old scheme that we had, if you look at the intermediate level, okay, so if you can see here, it is the paper number 6, first of all, which talks about auditing and assurance. And if you look into the syllabus, you had altogether 3 modules, okay, and wherein we discussed 8 chapters as a part of first module. And then we had the remaining chapters as a part of second. And then all the standards on auditing, that is pronouncements and the announcements of the council, everything was considered as a part of the third module. So this looks a very heavy discussion if you look at the content. But now, similarly, if you compare with the new syllabus that we have, if you compare with the new syllabus, it has been such a okay. Now, if you look at the new syllabus, you'll see here that first of all, it is the paper number 5. And here the entire structure has been changed. And now you have only 2 modules, module 1 and module 2. And all the discussion about audit has been covered only by these 2 modules. So we have the 5 chapters coming as a part of the first module, and 11 chapters are covered as a part of second module. So when you look at one go at this particular structure, you feel, yeah, audit is quite manageable. It has very less things to be covered. All right. But understand, the content, there has not been a change. In fact, there have been additions to the content. Some part of it definitely has been eliminated. Some part has been transferred from one chapter to another. And because of which the syllabus now looks concise, but actually the content is remaining the same. All right. I'll help you understand how is that. Okay. All right. So now let's go back to the earlier discussion that we had. Okay. Now, first of all, as I told you, now, first of all, name of the subject changed, we understood, modules. Now, let us begin with chapter-wise discussion. Earlier, when you looked at the topic, nature, objective, and scope of audit, which was the first chapter being discussed. Okay, in the old syllabus, it was including everything regarding independence of auditors, threat to independence, safeguards, all of it. We also had a discussion of SA 210 audit engagement letter, quality control standard SQC1 as a part of the first chapter. But there has been now a modification. What they have done is the existing content is remaining the same, but all the aspects regarding independence, all the aspects regarding threats to independence, safeguard, everything has now been eliminated. That is removed from the first chapter. And this has now been not eliminated from the syllabus. It is still there, but then understand the heading, that is the subject name. It is talking about auditing and ethics. So now this has been included as a part of ethics. Okay, so we'll study about independence, threat to independence, safeguard. We talk about SA 210, we talk about SQC1, we talk about SA 220 quality control. All of this, which was discussed earlier in the first chapter, now goes on to the next one, that is, it is going to be added as a part of ethics. So from here they remove, but they have still placed it somewhere in the syllabus, and that is as a part of the ethics chapter. Okay, so you can look at this, the new syllabus, independence and threat to independence have been removed from this chapter and added to ethics. Then very, very important point, to be matched with the international level, that is international standards. Okay, just to match with the international standards, now the first chapter is going to introduce us to a concept of assurance engagement. Okay, and In assurance engagement, we are going to discuss about properly what do you mean by assurance engagements, who are going to be the parties to the assurance engagement. We are going to understand the concept of limited review, which was not exposed to us, or in the earlier syllabus, it was not taught that much in detail. But here you'll be able to now understand what are the meaning of the assurance engagements, that is what is audit basically. Then you'll be understanding about limited reviews, what is it going to conclude, how is the reporting under that happen, and the basic points regarding the differences between what is a limited review and what is an assurance engagement. So this was earlier not there, but this is in the for us to get at the level of the international standards. This part is being included as a part of the chapter 1 introduction. Also, some very simple principles regarding appointment of the auditors, reporting by the auditor, a very simple principles. It is something given to you just for understanding the basic concepts, okay, that they have introduced as a part of first chapter. Otherwise, the remaining content will remain as it is, like objective of the auditor, benefits of the audit, qualities of the auditor. Okay, all of this is going to remain the same. And SA 200 still will stay here, that is in the first chapter. All right. So that is regarding the first one, where I've just told you some part of it has been removed from the first chapter, but that is not removed from the syllabus. It has been transferred to another chapter. And you have got introduced to the new concepts of assurance engagement. Assurance engagement is not new to you. It is going to be audit as well. But there is something where they have done a comparison with limited review. Okay. So the difference about it and the basic points regarding appointment, removal, all of that has been discussed. Okay. So that was regarding the first chapter. Moving on to the next one, we have the chapter 2, which talks about audit strategy, audit planning, and audit program. Basically, just for you to understand how I've done the comparison, I have kept this particular column just for you to understand what were the earlier chapters name as per the old syllabus. Okay, then what has been a change that has been taken up. Okay, then earlier when we spoke about audit strategy and audit planning, we also spoke about materiality, SA 320, as a part of this chapter only. So we compared planning, materiality together, relationship we established. But now things have been changed. The overall topic remains the same about planning, about strategy, about SA 300 is still continued to be here. Along with that, when you talk about audit program, advantages, disadvantages, all of that still continues to remain in the same chapter. Only thing, now SA 320, which talks about materiality, is no longer a part of this chapter. It is going to be discussed as a part of risk assessment. Okay, so earlier materiality has been removed from this chapter and has now been placed where? In the risk assessment. Okay, so again, there has not been a change. The syllabus remains the same. There has only been a shift of the topic from one chapter to another. Then you have audit documentation and audit evidence. So when you look at the old syllabus, audit documentation, audit evidence was considered to be only one chapter. But now, if you look at it, earlier we had in the chapter 3, both documentation, audit evidence should be one common chapter. We had 580 written representation discussed under this chapter only, and 560 subsequent events also were discussed as a part of this chapter. But now this chapter has undergone a lot of changes. Okay, first of all, they've completely bifurcated. Audit documentation has become chapter 6, and audit evidence now becomes the chapter 4. So basically, this entire chapter is being divided into two parts. Chapter 4 of the new syllabus is audit evidence, and chapter 6 is going to talk separately about audit documentation. Okay. And the standards which are covered as a part of audit evidence is 500, that is about audit evidence, 501 specific considerations, 510 about initial audit engagements, 530 audit sampling, 505 external confirmation, 550 talks about related parties, 520 analytical procedure. Now, if you look at all of this, you will understand earlier when you looked at those 13 chapters, out of them, 530 audit sampling was one of the chapter, 520 analytical procedure was another chapter. Understanding? So what they have done, they have not reduced the syllabus. The thing is, 530 and 520, they are discussing as a part of audit evidence. So basically the content still remains the same, but only 520, 530 has been now shifted to audit evidence. Okay, so that is the thing here. And the earlier discussions about written representation and when we spoke about subsequent events, they are no longer a part of audit evidence. It has been shifted to a brand new chapter in your syllabus, which is called as completion and review, which was earlier not there. Now, everything that the auditor will do after obtaining evidences, okay, before giving the audit report, whatever he is going to do, we call it to be completion and review in line with the international standards. So completion and review is a new chapter introduced, wherein you are going to discuss about chapters like these are the 580, 560, which was earlier as a part of this, like written representation, subsequent events. Earlier was as a part of audit evidence, now has been shifted to what? Completion and review. Okay, then. When you talk about audit documentation, that is the chapter 6, which is separate discussion, the content is going to remain the same, no change absolutely. SA 230 will continue to be the same. A little additional detail has been given about, completion memorandum. All right. These are the same points discussed here. Audit sampling included under audit evidence only. And SA 610, using the work of internal auditor, that also has been included in audit evidence. All right. So that we discussed earlier as a part of risk assessment, which has now been taken as a part of audit evidence. Okay. Then you have a risk assessment and internal controls. That was the 4th chapter. Okay. Now, listen to this carefully. Now, chapter 3 of the new syllabus is going to talk about risk assessment and internal control. As I already told you, SA 320, which was talking about materiality, now it has been brought where in risk assessment and internal control. So 320 materiality is going to get included as a part of risk assessment. In the new syllabus, it is the chapter 3. Correct? Now, we had a separate topic called as audit in an automated environment when we spoke about the old syllabus. Now that topic we don't have, that chapter is not there. So we don't have something separately called as audit in an automated environment. In fact, the full discussion has been done as a part of digital audit. So when you look at risk assessment and internal control as a chapter, there they have included a part of audit in an automated environment through the heading digital audit, wherein you're going to talk about IT related risk. You talk about the IT controls, everything connected to data analytics, everything which we studied as a separate chapter earlier under audit in automated environment. Now that has been removed and has been included as a part of chapter 3, risk assessment and internal control under the heading of digital audit. Okay, then SA 330, response to the assessed risk. This part was not included as a part of intermediate syllabus earlier, but now they have brought some parts of it, or basically a proper understanding of 330 has now been introduced again back to the syllabus. Okay, then in the old syllabus, the 5th chapter was talking about fraud and responsibility of the auditor. In the new syllabus, we don't have a separate topic like that. Okay, then I told you audit in automated environment, we don't have it anymore because that has been taken care of in the 3rd chapter where you spoke about risk assessment. So that is under the heading of digital audit. Okay, so that also has been eliminated. So you can see the topics have been shrunk, but all the content is still there. Okay, then audit sampling, we don't have a separate chapter anymore. It is going to be under audit evidence. Analytical procedure is not going to be a separate chapter. Again, it is included as a part of audit evidence. Now, this big discussion that we used to have always, audit of items of financial statement, a big chapter that we call it, that is now only brought as a chapter 5, but content absolutely no change. It is going to be as it is. Okay, so only the numbering of the chapter changes. Earlier chapter 9 is now the chapter 5. The content is absolutely the same. Okay. Now, company audit, in the new syllabus, we do not have anything separately called as the company audit. In fact, reporting under the company's audit, which we study as a part of 143 and also CARO, all of that has been now shifted to the topic of audit report. Okay, so basically separately about company audit, the discussion is not there as a part of intermediate new syllabus. The discussions regarding reporting under section 143 and CARO, which is relevant only to the companies, all of that discussion, they have brought it under the audit report chapter. So this is one of the major changes which I call for. Okay. Then, if you look at audit report, this obviously will not undergo a change because everything connected to audit report has to be the same. So only the chapter number, earlier it was 11th chapter in the as a part of the syllabus. Now it is the chapter 8, where all the standards are included. If you look at it, 700, 701, 5, 6, that is forming an opinion and reporting, key audit matters, modification, emphasis of matter and other matter paragraph, and regarding it is about corresponding and comparative information. And 600, which talks about using the work of other auditors, that is included as a part of audit report now. Okay. Then when we discuss about the matters like joint audit, okay, branch audit, which we earlier took as a part of company audit as a discussion, all of that has now been brought where? As a part of audit report. So branch audit, which we spoke under company's audit earlier, SA 299, that is joint audit, which you're discussing as a part of company audit, then CARO, and reporting under section 143, there's 1, 2, 3, all of those discussion, powers and duties of the auditor, all of that has been removed from the chapter of company audit, and we have everything included as a part of audit report. Okay. Then audit of bank remains the same, only the numbering is changing from chapter 12, it has become chapter 10. Audit of bank has no absolute difference. Then audit of different type of entities also continues to be the same. No content difference, absolutely. It is going to talk about entities like NGOs. It talks about charitable institution. It talks about educational institution. It talks about government audit. It talks about local authorities. All of that is going to remain the same. Basic concepts of LLP discussed as it is. About cooperative societies, a basic idea is given to you as it is. So this chapter, there is no change, absolutely. In fact, the content is going to remain absolutely the same. Okay. Now, the major discussion that we are going to have, or why I actually wanted you to understand the difference majorly, is because of this chapter introduced called as the ethics and terms of engagement. As I already told you in the beginning, this part of ethics was earlier given as an introduction to you as a part of first chapter, nature, objective and scope of audit, where you got a basic understanding about the concepts of integrity, objectivity, all of that as the fundamental principles of ethics. Then we also understood about the concept of independence. We also understood threat to independence. We also understood safeguards. All of this now has been removed from there, and a new topic has been introduced to you, which we call it to be ethics and terms of engagement. Also here, there has been an introduction of the new concept to you, which is the code of ethics. So ICAI has code of ethics, and the introduction about this has been given as a part of this chapter. So now everything regarding independence, fundamental principles of integrity, objectivity, independence, all of that, every single concept about independence regarding threat, safeguard, everything is now covered as a part of this chapter. So this is going to be the last chapter that we have, that is the chapter 11 of the auditing and ethics chapter or syllabus. You have essay 210, which is covered. 220 and SQC1, which originally were in the first chapter, nature, objective and scope, is now been taken as a separate chapter altogether. And everything regarding independence and everything we discuss as a part of ethics. Okay, so everything, fundamental principles of ethics, importance of ethics, all of that is been now taken as a separate one. This wasn't there earlier. So this has been a major change that we can see. Okay, then. One very important thing is that about the topic completion and review. Okay, this we never had earlier. Okay, now they have introduced you to a subject called a topic called as completion and review. Okay, this we did not have. That's the reason we had the third module where all the remaining standards were put forth. Okay, but now, because I really believe this understanding is very important for the students. Usually students do not understand where to apply 570 going concern, where to apply subsequent events, when to obtain written representation. So there is some kind of ambiguity when it comes to the intermediate level. But now, because of the introduction of this chapter, completion and review, you will be able to practically understand when these standards are going to be applicable. Because this chapter actually tells you some responsibilities of the auditor after he draws the conclusion, but before he gives the audit report, what all things he does, that they have completed as a part of completion and review. Okay, so here it is a complete brand new chapter. Earlier we did not have anything like that, where 260, that is communication with TCWG, 265, communication of internal control deficiencies to TCWG, evaluation of the misstatements identified during audit, subsequent events, going concern, written representation, all of these, okay, which you are going to obtain at the end of the audit. Okay, all of this they have now brought it where? Under the chapter completion and review. So this chapter, according to me, becomes so important for the students to understand, because all these standards definitely will be exposed to. Earlier we didn't have 265 and all covering as a part of intermediate, but now everything is taken care of. Why? Because students usually what happens is they will study these standards, they will understand the content of the standard, but practical orientation or the practical applicability of that, usually they don't follow it well because they don't know exactly when the auditor is supposed to do it. Correct? So by the introduction of this particular chapter, students will able to be placing them correctly. That means they'll be able to understand exactly at what point in time in audit we are going to apply these. So according to me, this chapter introduction is really, really very important change or very important thing that the institute has done. Okay. So if you look at the overall discussion that we actually had now, you'll see that the syllabus, though it looks very shrunk, though it looks only 11 chapters are there, that too out of that, one new chapter is introduced, that is ethics and terms of engagement. That means a lot of things have been changed. A lot of syllabus has been, they have shortened it and all. Trust me, there has been internal changes. There has been some kind of modification internally to the syllabus, but audit understand it is fundamentally going to remain the same. How will they ignore on the basic concepts? How can they remove some basic elements which are required? And basically audit is a fundamental understanding, and because of which nothing can be ignored. Only what they have done is now there has been a proper way of presenting the syllabus. You don't have a separate module only talking about standards, standards, and standards. You actually know the applicability of the standard through the topic. So when you do audit evidence, when you understand the meaning of audit evidence, you will be able to understand every single standard connected to audit evidence. When you talk about documentation, you'll be able to streamline and understand properly. Yeah, documentation means all these standards are covered. Audit report, all these standards are covered. So now you will not be under that mind frame. Okay, these are the standards I'm studying. This is the syllabus I'm studying. I don't know how the applicability is. No. So now in the respective topic, they have actually added the standard also so that you can map it properly and understand the concept even with more clarity. As I told you, if you look at the institute study material, there are application-based questions, that is application of the concept-based question. And here, if you look at the material and if you look at the questioning style, you will understand that now the focus is going to be application-oriented. That is, case studies are going to be there, where you have to actually put forth your concept that you have studied, apply in the scenario which have been given. That is the reason, if you look at the structure now, the way they have modified it, the way they have actually formed it, shows it very clearly that now the institute actually wants us to understand practical orientation of the subject of audit. All right. So these are the small changes, or maybe the discussion which I wanted to put forth. And as I told you, it is now becoming the chapter. It is now the paper 5, no longer the paper 6. And most importantly, the name of the subject itself has undergone a change. It has now become what? Auditing and ethics. It is no longer auditing and assurance. Okay. But still, the subject topics like assurance and everything continue to remain the same. They're still going to be there. Okay. So that was the basic discussion. So quickly, if I go help you understand it, it's name undergoing a change. The number of modules will be reduced to only 2 now. Chapters 13 will now become 11 chapters. Okay, first chapter is going to remain the same with some removal and transfer to the topic of ethics. And new concepts introduced like assurance, limited review, comparison between them, all of that. And basic principles regarding appointment, removal, reporting, all of that has just given as an introductory paragraphs to you. Audit strategy, audit planning will continue to remain the same with a little shift of the standard 320, which we discussed earlier as a part of audit planning, now goes as a part of risk assessment. The third chapter that we had, audit documentation and audit evidence, now is the 4th and the 6th chapter of the new syllabus. And they have completely bifurcated these 2 chapters, with audit evidence being a complete separate one and audit documentation being a chapter 6. Earlier, the chapter 3 include, that is audit documentation, audit evidence, spoke about 580 written representation, 560 subsequent events. It still continues to be a part of syllabus, but under the topics of completion and review. Okay. Now we do not have a separate chapter for audit sampling because 530 is included under audit evidence. No separate chapter for analytical procedure because 520 is also included as a part of audit evidence. Correct? Then 610, which we spoke as a part of internal control earlier, is now been taken as a part of audit evidence. Then the chapter 4 in the earlier syllabus, which spoke about risk assessment, internal control. Okay. Now that same chapter is a chapter 3. Everything remains the same. Only thing they have added SA 320 as a part of this chapter. And also 330 has now got introduced as a part of your syllabus at the intermediate level, which was not there earlier. Audit in automated environment no longer is existing. Entirely has been discussed as a part of risk assessment. So we have something called as a digital audit. And that is going to discuss about something we studied as a automated environment. Fraud and responsibility, we don't have a separate topic to discuss anymore. Audit in automated environment, again, there is nothing different, but this part is not eliminated. It has been taken care of as a part of digital audit. Audit sampling, again, it is not removed. It has been shifted to the audit evidence chapter. Analytical procedure, not removed, shifted to the audit evidence chapter. Audit of items of financial statement continues to remain the same with absolute no change in any of the structure. Company audit, basic elements have been eliminated, but yes, reporting continues to be there. Caro reporting is still there, and all of that, but now has been placed on to the audit report chapter. So if you look at the new syllabus, you will not look at a topic called as company audit. Okay, will not be there. Whatever was included as a part of reporting of audit in the part of as a part of company audit has now been shifted to the audit report, and all the elements like branch audit, all about joint audit, everything we studied earlier as company audit, have everything been brought forward as a part of chapter 8 audit report. Audit of banks will continue to remain the same. Audit of different types of entities will remain the same. Hospitals, hotels, educational institutions, all of that will continue to be the same. LLP, cooperative societies, NGOs, charitable institutions, all of that content will remain the same. A new topic, completely new. The entire concept is new for you. That is ethics and terms of engagement, wherein SA 210, 220, SQC1 as a part of first chapter earlier is now brought in here. And also you're going to understand in detail about the code of ethics of the institute, also about independence, threats, and safeguards. Okay, then. One more very, very important and a major change that has come is the introduction of new chapter called as completion and review. And where earlier you studied all the remaining standards as a part of module 3, now you know exactly where the standards will be applicable. So they have been properly mapping it to the chapter it belongs to. So about communication, about evaluation of a statement, about subsequent events, going concern, and about written representation, they have been introducing this as a part of completion and review because these standards actually are followed at this particular stage. So this is the way in which the structure has undergone a change. All right. And if you look at the material, there are many questions case study oriented. So obviously the focus of the institute is going to be on case studies. Okay. So just for you to understand, if you look at the new scheme, you can see there are only 11 chapters. And as I discussed and I told you what are the changes, major changes. Okay, just a simple understanding. Same chapter will continue. This also will continue to remain the same. Risk assessment has now become the chapter 4. Audit evidence is the 3rd chapter. And audit evidence and audit documentation have now become separate chapters. Audit of items will continue to remain the same. Completion and review is going to be a brand new introduction to us. Audit report remains the same, and all the extra things that we studied as a part of company audit earlier has been taken care of in the audit report chapter. This will continue to remain the same as it is, no change absolutely. Audit of banks will continue. This is a brand new introduction. Okay, so 3 modules have been concised to 2 and 13 chapters now become 11. But trust me, content will continue to remain the same. Only structural changes have been happening. All right. All right. So with this, I just wanted to give you an highlight or maybe an understanding of this overall change that has happened. According to me, now audit will become more understandable, more practical oriented, and you'll be able to understand the concepts much more in detail because of the mapping done by the structural changes that have happened. Okay, so there's going to be always, like always, I would say, happy learning with the subject of audit and ethics. It is no longer auditing and assurance. All right. Yes. Thank you.